Before that night, I used to believe that the worst thing a hotel could lose was a reservation. I was wrong. Sometimes, a single mistake could throw two broken strangers into the same room and force them to confront the fears they had spent years running from. I never imagined that checking into a quiet mountain hotel after the hardest year of my life would end with a frightened woman backing into me, trembling, whispering only a few desperate words that would change everything inside me forever. Those words were not romantic. They were filled with fear, exhaustion, and silent heartbreak. She leaned against me and silently pleaded for comfort, asking me to stay exactly where I was because, for the first time in a very long time, she finally felt safe. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more emotional stories that remind us humanity still exists. My name is Nathan Brooks, a 34-year-old landscape photographer who had spent most of his adult life traveling across America capturing beautiful places while quietly hiding the emptiness inside me. 2 years earlier I had lost both my father and my engagement within 6 painful months. Since then, work had become my escape. Every mountain, forest, and river looked peaceful through my camera lens, but none of them could silence the loneliness I carried back to every hotel room. That autumn I arrived at a small family-owned lodge nestled high in the mountains of Colorado. The place was famous for its wooden cabins, fog-covered mornings, and breathtaking sunrise views. It was supposed to be a peaceful 3-day retreat where I could finish photographing the changing colors of the forest before winter arrived. The lobby smelled of pine wood and fresh coffee, but the calm atmosphere disappeared when a young woman walked inside carrying a worn travel bag and looking completely exhausted. Her name, I would later learn, was Grace Carter, a 30-year-old elementary school teacher. She had traveled nearly 10 hours by bus after attending her grandmother's funeral. Her eyes were swollen from crying, yet she still thanked the receptionist with gentle politeness while searching for her booking confirmation. The receptionist's face slowly turned pale. Somehow the reservation had vanished from their system. Every room in the hotel had already been occupied because a local hiking festival had unexpectedly filled the entire property. Grace searched through every email and confirmation number she had, but nothing changed the situation. She was stranded in a mountain town where every nearby hotel was fully booked because of the same event. Watching her struggle reminded me too much of the helpless feeling I had carried after losing my own family. She never demanded special treatment. She simply stood there trying not to cry while pretending she could solve the impossible. The hotel manager apologized repeatedly but admitted there was nothing left to offer. Without thinking too long, I quietly suggested that she could take my room for the night while I slept in the lobby. The manager immediately refused because of insurance rules and explained that there was another solution if both guests willingly agreed. Since my room contained one large king-size bed, they could officially register both names to the reservation. Separate blankets and privacy screens could be provided if needed. Grace looked uncomfortable. So did I. Neither of us had expected our lives to cross like this. After several awkward minutes, she accepted only because there was simply nowhere else to go. The room felt strangely quiet when we entered. We kept a respectful distance, speaking only when necessary. The hotel staff brought extra blankets and did everything possible to make the unusual arrangement comfortable. I offered to sleep on the floor, but Grace refused because she said no decent person should have to do that after offering help to a complete stranger. Outside, heavy rain began crashing against the windows. Thunder echoed through the mountains while strong winds shook the old wooden building. We both pretended to relax by reading books and checking our phones, but neither of us truly slept. Around midnight the electricity suddenly failed. Darkness swallowed the room. Only the distant flashes of lightning briefly illuminated the walls. Moments later another deafening crack of thunder echoed across the valley. Grace suddenly gasped. Before either of us fully understood what was happening, she instinctively stepped backward in fear until her back gently touched my chest. She froze completely, breathing quickly, unable to move away. Her body trembled so much that I realized this wasn't simple fear of thunder. Without turning around, she quietly whispered that she had experienced something terrible during a storm years earlier. Ever since then, darkness and loud thunder triggered overwhelming panic attacks. She apologized repeatedly, embarrassed by her reaction, but admitted she couldn't force herself to move. I didn't wrap my arms around her or try to make the moment dramatic. I simply stayed still, giving her the reassurance that another human being was nearby. Sometimes comfort isn't found in grand gestures. Sometimes it comes from someone's quiet decision not to walk away. Several long minutes passed before her breathing slowly became steady again. When the emergency lights finally came back on, tears were already rolling down her face. She admitted that losing her grandmother had reopened wounds she thought had healed years ago. Her grandmother had been the only person who truly protected her after an abusive childhood filled with fear and neglect. Since the funeral, she had been trying to convince herself she was strong enough to face life alone. But sitting in that dimly lit hotel room beside a complete stranger who had shown nothing except kindness made the walls around her heart begin to crumble. For the first time in years, I stopped hiding my own pain as well. I shared how grief had turned me into someone who kept running from relationships because losing people hurt too much. Photography had become my excuse to stay emotionally distant from everyone. That night neither of us solved the other's problems. But something far more important happened. Neither of us felt alone anymore. The next morning sunlight poured through the windows, washing away the darkness that had filled the room only hours earlier. The mountains looked brighter than ever before, almost as if nature itself wanted to remind us that every storm eventually gives way to another sunrise. Instead of immediately leaving, Grace asked if she could join me during my photography trip through the valley. We spent the day walking beside crystal-clear rivers, colorful forests, and quiet mountain trails. Conversation came naturally. We laughed more than either of us expected. The weight we had both carried seemed just a little lighter with every passing hour. Before leaving town, we exchanged phone numbers with no promises and no expectations. We simply thanked each other for one unforgettable night of unexpected kindness. Months later those messages turned into regular phone calls. Phone calls became visits. Visits became friendship. Friendship slowly became love built not on perfect circumstances but on trust, patience, healing, and respect. A year later we returned to the same hotel, this time with an official reservation under both our names. The manager recognized us instantly and smiled as he quietly admitted that losing her booking had been the biggest mistake the hotel had ever made, and perhaps the most beautiful one too. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so more people can discover stories that remind us kindness still changes lives.